Hello, everyone. It is Mr. Fernandez again, and apparently we have Miss Maybe sitting here right next to me. So I just wanted to come and explain what's happening this weekend because it is a holiday. And what holiday is it? It is Easter. And I want to talk to you about what is Easter, why we celebrate it in Ontario and North America, and for whom it's important. So to begin, I do want to say that this is not my way of saying that any one religion is better than the other. I have my own personal religious views, which you can talk to me about one on one. They involve all the deities existing and they're kind of competing against each other, and I think it's a great idea. But this is not any way for me to advocate for one or another. This is just because of the society in which we live. This is a holiday, and so that's why we have days off tomorrow and Sunday, technically Monday. So, first and foremost, uh, it is Easter. What is Easter? And why do we celebrate it? First and foremost, Easter is part of the Christian belief. Christianity, starting around, if we actually go by our calendar, we use the Christian calendar. So that's why we're in the year 2020. Oh my God, we're in 2020. 2020 years ago was the death of Jesus Christ. And that's kind of the turn of the calendar that we have. Before then, we have what's called BC, so before Christ, and we are currently in the AD, after death. Uh, and so Jesus was born, arguably Christmas. Some people say no. Anyways, that's why we celebrate Christmas, the birth of Jesus Christ, who is believed to be the Son of God. Oh, I maybe. Uh, what is Easter, though? So 33 years after Jesus was born, uh, he was going to be sentenced to death. And so he comes into Jerusalem. Anyways, he goes into a city, and that's what Palm Sunday is, where the residents of that city all laid out the palms from the trees so that he didn't actually have to walk on the ground. Today is also an important day because it's the Last Supper. So Jesus meets with his disciples, and he actually washes all of their feet to show that he is not above any of them and that they are all equal despite him being the Son of God. And tomorrow is what's called Good Friday. Tomorrow is the day that Jesus is sentenced to death, and he's hung up on a cross. So we know what a cross is. Maybe I'll try and put a picture here, here. I don't know, somewhere here. Uh, and so he was hung up on there to die. And he died, according to Christianity, to absolve humankind of their sins. And so sins are all the things that go against the word of God. So when you act poorly, if you steal, if you are jealous of people, if you kill people, like that's a big sin. If you're mean to your mother or father, if you're mean to others, those are all sins. And so Jesus Christ died in order to absolve or release the sins from humankind. Uh, so he died, he was put into a tomb, and then a great big boulder was put in front of the tomb to close it off. And that was Friday night. Nothing happened on the Saturday. And on the third day, the Sunday, he rose from the dead. Now, he didn't exactly rise from the dead. Like, he came back, but he wasn't like a zombie, like, and he didn't come back and be like, hey, I'm alive again. Uh, somebody goes, I believe it was a woman, Mary Magdalene? Anyways, she goes, she sees that the tomb is open. She goes to get one of his disciples. I believe it was Thomas that went. Don't quote me on that. They go, they check it out. Jesus isn't there anymore. He's missing. And then he introduces himself to each of the disciples one at a time, where one of them doesn't believe. And so they put their finger in the hole where the nails were to actually believe that it is him. And then he rises into heaven to sit at the right hand of his Father, who would be God. Uh, and so that's what Easter is. It is the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. In the Bible, Jesus is one of only two people to have come back from the dead. The first one came back from the dead because of Jesus. It is one of the miracles that he performed, and that was Lazarus, sorry. But so it is a big deal and is a very, very important holiday for Christians. He was When Jesus was alive, there was conflict with those that believed he was the Messiah, the Son of God, and those that didn't, who are Jewish. So in the Jewish faith, they do not recognize Jesus as the Son of God, as the Messiah. They believe that he is still to come. Whereas in Christianity, they believe that Jesus was the Son of God and that he will come again. And that's really where the two religions diverged, and it happened 2020 years ago. And so the Friday, Good Friday, is when Jesus died, and Sunday is when he came back from the dead. So that's the history of it. That's the religious history of it. So why do we have this holiday? Why do we celebrate this? We're a pretty secular society, meaning that religion is not part of our political and our government system. You can even see it insofar as Quebec, where they're trying to remove all religious symbols. The reason why we have these holidays is because Ontario, Canada, and North America were Christian societies, are arguably still Christian societies, meaning they were founded by people who followed Christianity. Now, let me preface this with the acknowledgement that Indigenous people are very much excluded from the conversation of religious components in this, where Europeans who were following Christianity came and forced their religions on them. So when I'm speaking in terms of the founding of these religions and how we are in this kind of religious society, it is with full acknowledgement that Indigenous people were forced and persuaded to join a religion that was other than their own spiritual practicings. So Christianity was the religion of the people who created the political structures here. Up until I believe it was about 30 or 40 years ago, Ontario actually didn't have any businesses opened on Sunday. Because Sunday, if you read the Bible and the creation story, God creates things on the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth day, and then on the seventh, he rests. And that's why on Sunday, Christians typically go to church. They don't do a lot of work, or they're not supposed to, because they are supposed to rest and reflect, just as God did on the work that he completed. Um, because we are founded on a Christian belief system, Christian society, that means that many of our holidays follow the Christian calendar. That's why Christmas is a big holiday, because it's big for Christians. That's why Easter is a day off, Good Friday and Easter Sunday. Now, you're probably wondering why. Okay, great. Friday, that makes sense if it's a Christian calendar. But why are we off Monday when Sunday is the holiday? That is because businesses were typically closed on Sunday. Government was not open on Sunday. Government was usually Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And so Monday becomes the day where we are all off instead. And so that's really the history of Christianity in terms of why we have Easter, what Easter is, and why it's a holiday. So, what does that mean for you this weekend? Well, the school really wants you to relax. They want you to unplug, unwind, detach yourself from all the electronics, and spend the time with your family in whatever shape or form. Now, some of you might be like me, where you might use the weekend for homework purposes. Sure. I mean, when I was in high school, I loved long weekends because I could relax on the first day, probably relax on the second day, do a lot of work on the third day, and then kind of catch up on whatever I needed to on the fourth day. Uh, but the expectation from the school, from Gloucester, from your teachers is to not really be doing any work this weekend. We've had a pretty big change so far, so it is fully acceptable to take this weekend to relax, to unwind, and just let everything go. So that's what the weekend is. I miss you all. I hope you're all doing well, and I look forward to hearing about what you've done over the weekend. Have a great one, everyone. Bye.